Hello and welcome back to a Total Extreme Morrow, where I booked WCW in the year 1992. Um, last week's was a bit of a tighter episode than 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I can't believe people watched. There are people, shout out Andrew, shout out Neil, who watched all 2 hours of that Legends. Um, but you know what? Once I watched it back, I was like, it wasn't too bad actually. It was kind of relaxing. We had our Night of Champions pay per view. Big Van Vader beat Ricky Steamboat. We had the post main event angle where Luger arrived. What the heck? And Cactus Jack turned face, helping Ricky Steamboat fend off Luger and Vader. That will play a part in the build this month to our pay per view, which is Spring Stampede, coming up on the 25th of April. So if we look how many shows we have till then, usual back to 4, the way I like it. As you can see, Big Van Vader has a couple of bookings in that time, including the night of Spring Stampede with New Japan. That's where his priorities are. However, we are launching a raid to sign him exclusively, to take him away from New Japan. We want Vader all to ourselves. He's a major star here now. He's our world heavyweight champion. His skills are sick. It's just trying to get this contract locked up. We've offered him a lot of money because if we look at his popularity, his popularity is great here as well. Like that has, if we track that progress, he's increased dramatically. Look, I love Vader. I think that's obvious, particularly on the podcast. I've said it probably a lot of times. I'm still bitter with Shawn Michaels from being a pussy ass bitch back in the 90s, not allowing Vader to hit him hard in the ring. So I'm going to give Vader the North American run he should have had as a top guy. So we want to lock down that contract. We want him exclusive to WCW. And he's a mercenary, so financial terms and incentives have a greater impact. So obviously, we offer him more money, he's going to take it. I see Bret Hitman Hart had an argument with Haku in the locker room. Hopefully that hurts Bret's morale in the WWF, and we might be able to sign him. Earlier than his contract is up. Wouldn't that be great if we signed Bret Hart? In terms of contracts, it's only Vader negotiating with. We have signed. El Dandy's putting in banger performances. Look at his match history. This guy might be one of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, his average rating is 74. Let's check out who are our two best performers. I'm going to say Big Van Vader. Average rating 76. That's lower than El Dandy. And Ricky Steamboat's our other top in-ring performer. Average rating 78. Is that lower than El Dandy? What was El Dandy's? Was it 84? Am I going mental that his was 84? Surely not. 74. So he's just slightly lower than Vader and Ricky Steamboat. But this guy is a guy we should be pushing. Look, he's having 89s down with Paraguayo. Paraguayo. Is that? Yeah, he was a huge influence on Macho Man. Macho Man's character, which is kind of cool. I think it was Paraguayo was a huge influence on Macho Man. Am I mixing him up with someone? Please comment if you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, he's having banger matches in Mexico. What's popularity in Mexico? Surely, he's a superstar in Mexico. He doesn't have that here yet. But if we could build him up a bit, we know he can go. And the big signing is Jake the Snake Roberts, set to debut, his evil incarnate. Do we have creative ideas likely to succeed? See, these creative ideas are excellent, right? Because what you can do here, right? Let's do a run through of this. Look at someone whose momentum minimum we want any, maximum we'll say cooled. Right? These are the guys who have cold momentum. Brad got his run. I'm not really going to do a whole lot with him this pay-per-view cycle. Is there anyone here we want to use? We're going to use Vinny Vegas. I actually haven't booked for some TVs. Let's go Vinny Vegas, right? Creative idea. Now, this is likely to succeed. We deploy this. It was a failure. If that had worked, his momentum would have turned around. Trust. Let's get straight into the TV shows. Is there anything else we need to go over? Like, finance is never going to be a concern in this. Like, we're making money hand over fist. Finance is more of a concern if you're like running a small independent promotion in the game. It's like, you know, it's not a major issue. Like, we make money despite ourselves. And other than that, nothing really that we need to kind of check in on a regular basis. Let's just get straight into it. Let's keep this tight. Let's keep it to an hour. 4 TV shows, a few recaps of our B show, and into what I think I have a kind of a weird lineup for this pay-per-view. Because if we look at this, Wrestle War is our 24th of May pay-per-view. Spring Stampede is our April one. Wrestle War, I'm going with, like they did in real life, War Games involving the Dangerous Alliance and a cohort of babyface stars. So I'm using Spring Stampede. I'm using this cycle of Spring Stampede to kind of get some titles in positions I want them to be in, and to free up some people of titles, to give them more focus further up the card, and also using the Spring Stampede cycle to build for War Games. So I have some weird matches in here, but they're matches that I think, and I'm doing a couple of rematches, I think 2 rematches at Spring Stampede from what we've seen at our last pay-per-view Night of Champions. So Spring Stampede will have a couple of rematches, and then some weird, but I think what will be quite good matchups. So yeah, let's just get into the booking of TV and have a look at what we're doing in the build to Spring Stampede. Here we are for WCW Wrestling Saturday Night Television. I keep hitting off stuff and it's making the worst nights. I need a new desk. This desk is crap, to say the least. We're here for the first of 4 TVs en route to the pay-per-view. Let's have a little recap of the pre-show, because it was noteworthy. Not the pre-show, the fucking B-show. Ultimo Dragon and Jushin Thunder Liger defeated Terry Taylor and Jerry Lynn in literally one of the best matches as my tenure as a booker on our B show. Ultimo Dragon picking up the pin over Jerry Lynn. Sean Waltman defeats Tracy Smothers. Tracy wasn't happy. Steven Regal defeats Diamond Dallas Page, and El Dandy defeats the Z-Man. The Z-Man wasn't happy. Dean Malenko beat this jobber guy, Glenn Gilberti. What a jobber. What a jobber. I suspect this man will never draw a dime in his career. Let's get into this. So I'm just using here Tully, getting a victory for Tully on the pre-show, trying to help his momentum because he has cooled. We might deploy a character idea to get that back to warm momentum. We brought in Greg Valentine. Greg eats the pin. Now Greg is just getting old, so his performances aren't great. He's not someone I could bring in a full time at this stage of his career. But Nikita Koloff picks up the pin against Greg Valentine. Diamond Dallas Page beats this jobber again. What a jobber. I reiterate, jobber. So he's come in, gotten the brakes beat off him twice tonight. And then we get on to the main show. The Steiners beat Vinny Vegas and Shane Douglas in the opener in just under 9 minutes. It's quite a good match, very good match. Our match quality is starting to improve. A lot of guys are getting hot, so that's good. Then we get Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes interviewed about Rick Rude and his... Dustin wants a rematch, essentially. We get an interview then backstage again with Ricky Steamboat, interviewed by Eric Bischoff, talking about what happened after the main event at Night of Champions, where Cactus Jack, of all people, saved him from Vader and the returning Lex Luger. Steamboat is unsure if he can trust Cactus Jack. He knows Cactus Jack's a maniac, but they're teaming tonight against the team of Vader and Lex Luger. Steamboat is wondering if he can trust Cactus Jack. What's Cactus Jack's game in all of this? And then we get a 6-man. Look, yeah, everyone performed really well, but the segment rating was bad because basically there's not enough guys in here who are considered. They're all considered unknown by our crowd. So I wanted to put this on the main match or on the main card. I was worried that this would happen. Workers they don't have any investment in. What I should have done here is probably put like Liger in on the face team and maybe Pillman in on the heel team, and that would have actually saved us from getting this rating or this kind of penalty here at the bottom. That's what happens if you. I know I've kind of briefly alluded to it before about having to put guys with at least recognisable in a match on your TV show in order to avoid this penalty. Because if you look at like the wrestling rating there, 64, Ultimo had a 70, El Dandy had a 72, like Malenko, Malenko and Guerrero in the 60s. Like everyone performed well here for a rating as low as 57. That's because these guys aren't considered stars and it went for 12 minutes. So yeah, that I hope it doesn't hurt any of their momentum. That's kind of the main thing. And then we get Paulie Dangerously. He's responding to Wyndham and Rhodes' interview from earlier on tonight. And Paulie has said that if Wyndham and Rhodes can beat Tully and Aaron in a rematch or in a tag match, then Dustin can have a rematch with Rick Rude at the pay-per-view for the United States title. We get Terry Gordy just absolutely trucking, jumping Joey Maggs. He trucked him in a very good 70 rating for a squash match is excellent. Then we get Gary Hart. Oh, I didn't mean to put them as cutting promos. I meant to put them as standing there looking intimidating. I bet you if I go into booking details, no, it doesn't tell me what I put them as. Yeah, because they're not great on the mic. That's why I got Gary Hart in to manage them. So Williams and Gordy struggled when going off script. They're not big promo guys. I just wanted them to stand there with Gary Hart looking intimidating, but I probably set them to cut promos, which was dumb on my part, but still a decent rating. And then we get, can you believe it? Big Scott Hall wins the WCW World Television title in an 18-minute cracker match against Steve Austin with a quick cradle. Steve Austin, his over 6-month reign as WCW World Television Champion, has come to an end on TV, where it should. It's the television champion, not the pay-per-view title. It's the television title. So he's lost it on TV. He's been defending it a lot, in fairness, against a lot of jobbers. But Scott Hall, or Big Scott Hall, called him out at the pay-per-view. Austin gave him an immediate match, and he gets caught with a quick cradle in 18 minutes and loses. Can you believe it? After the match, we get Larry Zbyszko and Arn Anderson hit the ring, start beating down Scott Hall. And of all people, now Sting has had some beef, with Paulie, the Dangerous Alliance recently. So Sting sees the Dangerous Alliance beating down a young guy, Big Scott Hall. Sting comes and makes the save. Gets segment rating of 76. Larry Zbyszko is poor here, which is weird. He's normally good in segments. But Sting looks like a star, I'm sure. Big Scott Hall was the new World Television title. Sting is still involved with the Dangerous Alliance. War games. Team Sting versus the Dangerous Alliance. It hasn't been announced. I'm just getting excited because I'm booking War Games. I've always wanted to book a War Games. This is the start of the War Games build. We're 2 months out. We're going to start. Well, it's not really. It started already, really, with the Dangerous Alliance running roughshod over the WCW locker room. Sting is here. Sting is saying this ends. We get a 2-minute video package. Very cryptic. There's lots of snakes. There's lots of weird imagery. We don't really know who it is. We think it's Jake the Snake Roberts, but we don't really know. It's only 2 minutes long. There wasn't a whole lot of information in there, but somebody is coming. And it might be a man associated with snakes and mustaches. Then we get the main event. I think that's our best match. 86. Cactus Jack pins Lex Luger. What the heck? Big Van Vader and Ricky Steamboat, who underperformed in my opinion at the pay-per-view in their main event singles world title match. Both of them put in tremendous performances here of 91 and 91. Cactus Jack more than holds his own at 76. Luger has an in-ring performance of 70, but Cactus Jack has pinned Lex Luger. We still don't even know what Lex Luger's contract situation is, but he's just taken a pin against Cactus Jack. That has to put Cactus Jack in the title picture for Big Van Vader's title. What a show we've put on tonight. That is an incredible show. Scott Hall was used too much. Okay, yeah. We put him in an 18-minute match and we had him in like a 4 or 5 minute angle after that, but an 83 overall rating. That should boost our popularity every year. 152k in the bank. Oh, we were in Mississippi tonight, which is technically in our home region. Yeah, that's done some good stuff for Southeast is our home region. Yeah, so we've increased popularity in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes, and we've got marginal gains in a lot of other places. Hell of a show. We're going to check if the likes of Ultimo Dragon and Sean Waltman and Dean Malenko, El Dandy, Eddie Guerrero, if their momentum is that front light too bright. It is, isn't it? It's too bright. Look at my face. It's too bright. I'll sort that out off camera. Pay raise request from Brad. What do you want? 190. I'll go on. Sure, look. I have literal millions. 850. Go on, so. We're in contract negotiations with Big Van Vader. Ricky Steamboat, I sent him on loan to Eastern Championship Wrestling. Eddie Guerrero has finished up his final dates with WAA Mexico. He's with us now full time. As you can see there, Jake has. Jim Neidhart is on the free agent list. I'm not particularly interested in bringing him in because none of the rest of the Hart Foundation are free at the moment. What were we checking there? We were going to check the likes of El Dandy, Eddie Guerrero, Ultimo Dragon is the one I'm most interested in checking. Neutral momentum. So we didn't hurt his momentum. Look at his, let's see his popularity. It has increased marginally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy this a near certainty creative idea for him. It was a success. It's given him very warm momentum. It hasn't increased his popularity, but by having very warm momentum, it will help his popularity to increase at a faster rate. So, because I want him to challenge Pillman at the pay-per-view for the title. He's been having good matches. I think they could have a banger for the title. Yeah, look, if you look down there, his worst matches are coming generally on our programming. No, they're not really. Just that one when I put all the unknown guys. You see there, it's unimportant. So that's to do with his popularity in our region. So I'd say he'd have to get into the 30s to be considered recognizable. Who's recognizable? Is Brad Armstrong recognizable? Considered unimportant. Who might be just recognizable? Because there's a few different. Like, look, Sting is major star. Steve Austin is well known. So well known is above recognizable. So that's in the 50s. Richard Martin, recognizable. Popularity in the 40s. I can actually search by recognizable, see what the lower end of it is. What one is it? Perception. So if I go to recognizable, search, is there anyone in the 30s? Even Regal's in the 40s. He increased quickly. 40s. Oh, no. Lance Russell's in the 30s. Now he does have 65 in the southeast. Magnum's not a wrestler anymore. Unfortunately, if we were doing an 80s save, he would be a guy we could pin our hat to. Look at him. He's a physical wreck. Poor Magnum. Is there anyone here in just the 30s? We're going to have a hard time getting our... This is what's making it difficult to really get our light heavyweight division humming. Yeah, because we just don't have guys popular enough to put in great matches on TV. Hmm. Let's go to the next show. I mean, the wish I recorded the B show this week, WCW Power Hour, because that was a banger of a show. Uh, just have a look here. Sean Waltman defeated Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker in a pre-show match. Grand. Lord Stephen Regal defeated Tito Santana in a match that was given 76 in the opener. Promo Dustin and Barry Windham building up their tag match versus Tully and Arn tonight. On the A show, if Dustin and Windham win, Dustin gets a rematch at the pay-per-view against Rick Rude for the US title. Vinny Vegas, Grand defeated Jobber Jim Boss. Cut a promo saying he wants a shot at Big Scott Hall's title. But he won't be the first one to get a shot, as you'll see later. The Fabulous Freebirds defeated Van Hammer and Z-Man, Grand, whatever. Paul E and Bobby Eaton cut a promo, so beautiful Bobby, is getting a TV title shot against Big Scott Hall tonight, keeping Scott Hall in the Dangerous Alliance universe. And in the main event, Liger and Eddie Guerrero put on an absolute banger. One of our best matches, I'd say. Got a match rating of 80. Eddie Guerrero there, young Eddie, putting in a performance of 63, which is incredible given his level of popularity within the company. And Liger with an 84. Like, he's up there with Steamboat, Rude, Vader as our best in-ring performers. Now, we must switch to a more somber tone, because if you look at my main event angle tonight, it's an interview with Terry Funk. There's rumours in the dirt sheets all day about what it's leaked that the interview with Terry Funk is main eventing the show. One of the greatest pro wrestlers in history. By 1992, he was more than solidified as an all-time great, Hall of Famer, Mount Rushmore guy. Terry Funk is one of the greatest to ever do it. Watch his stuff from the 70s. What remains on tape. His Japan stuff, all Japan stuff. His tag team with his brother Dory in the 80s. Some of the greatest matches in the history of pro wrestling. Terry Funk has asked for interview time to make a huge announcement. This is a somber tone. What's Terry's announcement going to be in the main event segment of tonight's show? Let's get to it. Pre-show match is James Maratato. Is that little Guido? Kind of looks like him. But it's 92 and it's a weird picture. I can't tell. But he had a very, very good performance when we bring him in on... they have great chemistry. Maybe it is little Guido. I brought him in just to have a pre-show match, a little tryout, because I think that's who it is. With Stephen Regal, Lord Stephen Regal, I should say. Or should I say Lord Stephen Regal. 67 match rating in the pre-show, excellent. Mike Bell is in. I think Mike Bell worked at ECW for a while as well, trying to get some bit of Brad Armstrong's momentum back. Oh, also tonight's a big night. We've changed our commentary team. Eric Bischoff is off colour commentary, and Nick Parry, the Welshman we brought in to do WCW Power Hour with excellent ratings as colour commentator, he is taken over as our primary colour commentator on events going forward. He's taken over on our pay-per-views from Dusty Rhodes, and he's taken over on TV from Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff is now on the booking committee since I fired that shit-stain Ole Anderson. Although, do you know what? I do love Ole Anderson in some senses, because when Vince was buying up all the tape libraries for the territories, Ole burned all his tapes so Vince wouldn't get them. That's a level of hate that you just have to respect. He hated Vince so much, but he hated me. He hates everyone, so he had to go. So Eric Bischoff has reduced his duties as a colour commentator. He's going to swap in to do the B show, Power Hour, but he's on our booking committee as well. So we're giving Eric a little bit more power in the company. I don't know if that's a good idea. He's a guy who might be coming for my job. But Nick Parry's in, and then We give Cactus Jack beaten. I didn't mean to put Cactus Jack in this match. Jumpin' Joey Mags has beaten Cactus Jack. That's a misclick. Jesus Christ. Why? Who's it? I brought in a jobber. And I misclicked Cactus Jack. And now Jumpin' Joey Mags has beaten Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack is the number one contender for our world title. Jesus Christ. Oh. Shane Douglas beats Gina Carano. Gino Caruso, not Gina Carano. She's a totally different person. MMA fighter, actor, MAGA. Bollocks. Then Eddie Guerrero has beaten Himalayan Tiger. I wanted him to be good. 17, nope. Although Eddie's performance today was being good. The opener, Big Scott Hall, has beaten beautiful Bobby Eaton to make defense number one of his world television title. We cut backstage an interview. It's basically a promo, though. I don't know why it's called an interview. It's a promo. Steve Austin and Paulie dangerously cut a promo on Sting for Sting getting involved last week. So Austin wants a piece of the Stinger, the franchise player. Well, I suppose Shane Douglas is the franchise player. The franchise of WCW. Let's see how that plays out. We have a 6-man tag, 83. Ultimo Dragon gets the pin over El Dandy with the Asahi DDT. Some great performances there. Liger again. El Dandy's putting in better performances than Pillman. I told you, don't sleep on El Dandy. El Dandy is him. I'm pushing El Dandy to the moon. By the end of the year, El Dandy is going to be the key piece of our junior heavyweight division. This guy is awesome. I think once we get his popularity up to recognizable or well known, El Dandy is going to be putting in performances in the high 80s. He's doing this as unrecognizable, and your popularity plays a part in your segment ratings. So El Dandy is him, people. He is the guy. Steve Williams trucks the Italian Stallion in 4 minutes, and then after the match, Steve Williams, Terry Gordy, and Gary Hart get confronted by Rick and Scott Steiner, the Steiner brothers. The Steiner brothers want a rematch for the tag titles. They lost their first attempt, but they believe that they're the only team, not only in WCW, in the world. Steve Williams and Terry Gordy are undefeated as a tag team for, I'm going to say, 2 years at this stage. In-game. But they're undefeated. Nobody can beat them. Anyone who has beaten them, I know some teams did beat them in 91, but they beat in rematches. So Williams and Gordy are unstoppable. The Steiners believe they're the ones to stop it. There's kind of an air of respect now after they had the match. Previously in the build-up to their first match at the last pay-per-view, Night of Champions, the Steiners and the Miracle Violence Connection were just brawling every chance they got. But they've got their hands on each other now. They don't need to brawl. They're going to settle this in the ring at Spring Stampede. And then we cut again, Paulie Dangerously and Rick Rude. They're backstage. Rick and Paul are depending on Tully and Aaron to beat Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham in the main event match tonight. Remember, it's not the main event of the show. The main event of the show is Terry Funk's announcement. We get Cactus Jack, who's lost earlier in the night, to Jumpin' Joey Mags. Cactus Jack and Lex Luger go to a double count out after interferences from Big Van Vader and Ricky Steamboat. This match is ruled a draw. It's a draw. But Cactus Jack is still, despite a loss and a draw tonight, a loss to Jumpin' Joey Mags, Cactus Jack and Lex Luger go to a draw. But Cactus Jack is still the number one contender because he picked up a victory over Vader in a tag match last week. And then we get a major brawl around ringside with Vader, Cactus Jack, Lex Luger and Ricky Steamboat. Excellent rating, 82 segment rating. Lex Luger and Harley Race have great chemistry. Harley Race has great chemistry with Vader in a managerial capacity as well. Harley Race has low-key become a key piece of our TV shows because he's the manager. Like, we're looking at the Dangerous Alliance being the top heel faction. But Harley Race is basically the manager to both our top heels, being Vader and Luger, while the Dangerous Alliance is more ruling the mid card from lower mid card with Austin's run as TV title to upper mid card with Rick Rude's run as US champion. But Harley Race has quietly put together a two-man stable of killers. We get into the main event wrestling match. We know it's not the main event of the show. That's coming up next. Terry Funk's major announcement. Dustin Rhodes had an in-ring performance 71. Yeah, in terms of the wrestling, like the segment itself got over more than the actual wrestling within it, so that's good. I'm kind of still unsure about Dustin Rhodes, but he's starting to put in performance in the 70s. He was hanging around the 60s there for a long time. Look, we're all here for one thing, and that's for Terry Funk. Let's see what Terry Funk's got to say. Oh my God, this is a monster segment. What's happening? So Terry Funk comes out to announce his retirement with Lance Russell on the mic. Then Terry Funk gets attacked by Jake the Snake Roberts. He gets laid out, DDT'd onto the exposed floor, flat on his head. He's holding his neck. Terry Funk is then, Jake Roberts leaves through the crowd, disappears. What we're left with is Cactus Jack, Magnum TA, Nikita Koloff, Ron Simmons, Sting, all come out along with the medical staff to, we see Terry Funk getting put on a stretcher. What started as what we thought was going to be Terry Funk's latest retirement ends with Terry getting stretchered out after a heinous attack by Jake Roberts. What does this mean for Terry Funk? Is he going to follow through on his retirement? But we've seen the debut of Jake Roberts in a heinous attack on Terry Funk. We see the concern of our babyface roster. Even Magnum TA is out there. Magnum worked with Terry in the 80s. Magnum was obviously no longer able to wrestle. Basically the prototype for the modern Hangman Adam Page, I would say. A guy who, in my opinion, could have been the next Hulk Hogan. Or certainly maybe not Hulk Hogan, but the next, if he hadn't have suffered the back injuries, being a top act for the late 80s and early 90s, he's out there. So it's a who's who of babyfaces. All have history, all connected with Terry Funk. They're out there, they're acting, they're selling their concern for Terry's injury. Terry's selling the injury. A sad way to end. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to do that. We were in New York tonight. We went to New York, Syracuse. Decent bit of profit. Look, profit doesn't matter to us because we're making so much money. Decent show, got us more popular in lots of areas. It's brought the tri-state up. Next time we go back to New York, we can expect to sell even more tickets. We have a lot in the 70s now. I want to see what the overall rating with the show was because I clicked off it too quick by accident. So let's have a look. But yeah, Terry Funk, poor Terry, just got absolutely murked. Murked by the dastardly Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake Roberts is here. We seen the video package last week. It looks like the first victim of Jake the Snake was Terry Funk. In what we thought was going to be the Lightning Kid. Yeah, we've signed Lightning Kid as a... Who wants time to heal? Ultimo? Fuck off, mate. You're getting a title shot. Tito. Here's the thing about Tito. I noticed Tito was only on a handshake deal with WWE. So I stuck him on a written deal, not exclusive. So imagine this in 1992. Tito Santana is working regularly in WWF and working regularly in WCW at the exact same time. Like, if we look at his match history, here he is working with us, Lars Steven Regal. Here he is on WWF Superstars, Prime Time. He worked WrestleMania. He lost to Haku and the Barbarian. Let's see what WrestleMania was like, shall we? Let's see what they did at WrestleMania. I want to see what Jody Hamilton's opinion was. Who's he telling us is good? Give more promo time. Don't you worry. Cactus Jack has a big promo next week. In fact, this promo is so big, it's going to change, potentially, the direction of 1992 WCW forever. The fan base has now been conditioned to my style of wrestling. Maybe there will be more violence, maybe there will be more blood, but Cactus Jack has a challenge to lay down to Vader next week in a very particular match type. Comment down below what you think that match type is going to be. Let's go to next week. It's Wednesday night. That means it's time for World Championship Wrestling, open bracket TV, close bracket. And after the events of last week, there's kind of a somber tone hanging around the building where we are in, where did I book? Somewhere, the Castle Coliseum. Can't remember where we are. We're near Texas, but not in Texas. Somewhere in the south, anyway. Pre-show match. Eddie Guerrero still putting in strong performances. Goes over a Firebreaker Chip. Jerry Lynn goes over local jobber Joe Cruz. Joe Cruz with a 52. Huh. Nice. Kid Cash gets another, brought in Kid Cash for a look at him. 36, not bad. Gets beaten by a DDP. The moment you've all been waiting for. A debut of one of the biggest superstars in the history of professional wrestling. Paul Levesque gets submitted by Dean Malenko in 10 minutes and 3 seconds in a very good match, which, let's be honest, was held up by Dean Malenko's rating of a 73. This is a guy, we'll have a look at his popularity after this, because I checked it before, like in the previous week of game time, and he was at like an average of about 16, which is tiny. But to be getting 73 performances is insane. Paul Levesque at 26. I don't know if this guy has any future in the business, but, you know, we'll bring him in. Use him as a little jobber. Kimmicky Cartoon 1. Losses does not hurt momentum as much as usual. That's good, Paul, because you're going to be eating hella losses, my man. And we'll go to the opener. The opener, Eric Bischoff calls out Jake Roberts to speak about his actions during Terry Funk's mic time last week. What was Terry retiring? We think he might have been, but Jake Roberts came out and killed the poor guy. So Jake has arrived in WCW. He said Terry Funk was his first target. He grew up watching Terry Funk, and Terry Funk needed to be put down. He was a danger to himself. The fact that he was still wrestling in 1992. Imagine Terry Funk still wrestling in 1992. And Jake said he was doing his hero a favour and putting him out to pasture. And he suspects we will never see Terry Funk again. He said Terry Funk retired in Japan in 83 and he came back. He retired in 79 in Jim Crockett, or 89 in Jim Crockett, and he came back. He didn't trust his retirement this time. So he's making sure that Terry Funk will never wrestle again. Can you imagine Terry Funk wrestling after 92? Crazy stuff. So Jake exits through the crowd. He doesn't want any of all those angry baby faces backstage. He's gone. He's out of here. The man is gone. He's great on the mic. Opening match, Lord Steven Regal defeats Tito Santana with the Regalplex in a 76. What a match. Steven Regal is on fire with his performances. Again, that's up there with like Luger and Sting and these guys. That's the kind of performances they're putting in. So we've gotten Steven Regal a little bit over. He's in line for a push. He's putting in great performances. What do you do if you have a guy in your wrestling company putting on great performances? You push them. So we're going to push Lord Steven Regal. Big Scott Hall then. He beats Vinny Vegas by submission. Interesting. Big Scott Hall makes defense number 2 of the WCW World Television title in an excellent match. This is their third match together, and this is by far the best one. By far the best one. Cactus Jack is in some weird random location. This is a pre-tape video. Cactus Jack cuts a promo challenging Big Van Vader to an exploding barbed wire death match at Spring Stampede. An exploding barbed wire death match. Cactus Jack is crazy, man. And then we get a tag match. Here, look at El Dandy. Not as good as last week's. Pillman and Jushin Thunder Liger were the stars of this one. Decent match, good crowd reaction. Ultimo Dragon gets the pin on El Dandy with the Asahi DDT. The thing about El Dandy here is, yeah, he's eaten a few losses and such, but this is Petrol Station coffee, and it's actually not too bad. I'm a big coffee fan. El Dandy's eating a lot of pins, but he's on TV every week now, so that's actually helping his popularity. An 82 match. Again, one of the better matches in our tenure as Booker Bill Watts. I mean, we get Lex Luger defeating Barry Windham with an attitude adjustment pile driver. What the fuck is that move? Look, Luger's performance here is lower than both Malenko's and Regal's from earlier in the night. Now, look, 71 is still very good, and a 78 rating for the match is excellent. I feel like we're hitting a kind of creative peak in this pay-per-view cycle. Barry Windham kindly uses superior skills to make Lex Luger look particularly strong. The match was better as a result. Do you know what? I'm going to give Barry a 10k bonus after the show, and you can watch me do that. Thank you, Barry. We have an 8-man tag here. Ron Simmons, Nikita Koloff and the Steiners versus the Fabulous Freebirds and the Miracle Violence Connection, which also, if you notice here, the three of these were the original Fabulous Freebirds. So Terry Gordy teaming up with his old Fabulous Freebirds teammates. However, Nikita Koloff pins Jimmy Garvin with a Russian sickle. Who stood out in this match? Steve Williams with an 89, sensational Gordy with a 76, the Steiners both with 78. Ron Simmons with a 74. He's someone whose performances were slightly concerning, because I did want to push him into the world title picture and he wasn't performing at that level. But that is the type of performance there that you could put at that level. However, Steve Williams, just incredible. We get an argument after the bell between Jimmy Garvin and Steve Williams. Terry Gordy and Michael Hayes are trying to separate them. It's not physical, it's just words. Steve Williams is blaming Jimmy Garvin for the loss. Everyone performed well in this segment. Yeah, they all got extra bonuses. So we have some tension between Steve Williams and Jimmy Garvin. Terry Gordy being Steve Williams' current tag team partner, but Jimmy Garvin being his former tag team partner. Tension is here. Steve Williams is not happy with Jimmy Garvin causing him a loss. You know, Steve Williams isn't used to losing. This guy is on a streak. He's on a hot streak. And now the Steiners have one over them. Also important to note that Nikita Koloff got a pin over one half of the WCW United States Tag Team Champions, Jimmy Garvin. So maybe we're going to see Garvin and Hayes defend the WCW United States Tag Team titles against Ron Simmons and Nikita Koloff. What a combination that is. Harley Race accepts Cactus Jack's challenge to a barbed wire exploding death match on behalf of Vader. It's official. Spring Stampede, main event, exploding barbed wire death match, Big Van Vader versus Cactus Jack in 1992. Now, there's one thing to note on that. The TV executives may not let us run that match. They may not let us run it. And that's not something we find out until the very night of the event. So we're going to have something in the back pocket just in case we're not allowed run with exploding barbed wire death match. We go into our main event, Steve Austin and Rick Rude versus Sting and Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes was counted out while fighting Steve Austin. I don't think that's the finish I booked. Huh? Rude and Austin defeat Sting and Dustin Rhodes in 15 minutes, 10 seconds. Dustin Rhodes counted out while fighting Steve Austin. That's not the finish I booked. Weird. Well, we're going to have to go with it. That's what happened. Maybe the matches to end with a cheap finish. Yeah, I booked that. Steve Austin to be the victor. I thought a cheap finish was Austin cheats to win. However, look, Dustin Rhodes eats the count out. It's grand. It kind of protects Dustin as well. That's what they came up with. I just said, let's do a cheap finish, right? Go and put your match together along with your road agent, who was Tito Santana. I'm going to have a word with Tito because, I said, guys, Tito's your road agent for tonight. Go away and put your match together. I just give him the finish. Austin over Rhodes. Cheap finish. They came up with a count out. Look, still an excellent match. Let's finish this show. Wide selection of angles. A very, very good show overall. Yeah, look at that. Everything's in the green now. We're starting well, except for the opening interview. But Jake Roberts is new here. He's not particularly polished in our style yet. Arn Anderson got injured with a cracked tailbone on Power Hour earlier on. Him and Tully got a victory over, I don't know, a couple of jobbers. We made 154,000. That's always good. Popularity recap. Yeah. Marginal gains in most territories. Decent gains in Great Lakes. And the Southwest, like, we're mostly kind of creeping up into the mid-70s in most places. New England and the Northwest are lagging behind, but I don't really care about them because they're not considered big population centres in the game. If you're going to be behind on any of them, it's both New England and Northwest, and the Midwest is a small population centre as well. So, like, if you're starting a game where you're going to build your own indie company or something, there are kind of regions that are very hard to do it in because it's very hard to generate cash. Your attendances will be quite low in the early days of that. Aaron Anderson, yeah, we knew about that. Gary Hart says, Shane Douglas is a natural talker. Thank you, Gary. Jody Hamilton says, Cactus Jack talks well. I'm aware. Thank you, Jody. Ultimo Dragon, the usual. Looking for... Now, I want to check El Dandy's popularity. Creeping up there. Oh, yeah, more than creeping up there. And that's bearing in mind, he's been eating pins. He has been eating pins. Look at that. He's eating pins, but he's on TV, and he's putting in good performances in great matches. Who's the other one? I wanted to check Ultimo Dragon because we're putting him on the pay-per-view. Looks like he's... Oh, yeah. This is working. Yeah, notable improvements across the board. He's still considered unimportant. Hopefully, by the time we get to the pay-per-view, this unimportant will be recognizable. Was there something else we wanted to check? Was there? What's Steve Austin at now? 57s. Where did he start? 44s. Yeah, that's going well. That's going well. Okay. I think we're in a good place. It is the go-home show for Spring Stampede. A lot happening on the show, jam-packed. A lot of angles. Obviously, it's the go-home show. We want to get as much kind of heat and interest in our pay-per-view matches as we possibly can on our last opportunity before the show. Our B show tonight was... nothing really happened of note, but we did have Jushin Liger again having an insane match, and Scott Hall cutting a great interview. Other than that, boilerplate stuff, standard. DDP beating Junkyard Dog because they had an argument backstage. I thought that would be funny. But Liger again, just workhorse. We are in Fairborn, Ohio, in the Nutter Center. Because we're nutters, by. We're mad. WCW roster is mad. Paul Levesque, our new jobber, gets submitted. He's having a problem. He's been submitted a lot by Marcus Alexander above Bagwell in a pre-show match. Tommy Seabolt lost to Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker or whatever. Jerry Lynn beats Ace Steel. You might know him. And El Dandy beats Moondog Rex. I think El Dandy's my favourite wrestler. On the pre-show, not using El Dandy on TV this week. I'm putting somebody else in the position I would normally put him in. I want to see if the other person's popularity increases as well. You'll see who it is when we get there. In the opener, Lord Steven Regal has an excellent match with Diamond Dallas Page, and it's carried by Regal there with a 79 rating over Page's 54. but a 77 opener, top class. We get a face-off promo between Cactus Jack, Harley Race, and Big Van Vader. These two don't touch each other. They know they don't have to. They're going to death at Spring Stampede in an exploding barbed wire death match. And then we get an interview backstage. I forgot what this was for a second. Nikita Koloff and Ron Simmons been interviewed by Eric Bischoff. They challenge the Fabulous Freebirds to a match at Spring Stampede for the WCW United States tag team titles. Big Scott Hall beats Tommy Rich to make defense number 3 of the television title. Big Scott Hall putting in excellent performances. Like, this is what happens when you persevere with lads and get their popularity and momentum going in the right direction. Their performances start to increase dramatically over time. And I think, because, like, you know, not so long ago, Big Scott Hall was putting in performances in kind of like the 57 to 59 region. He's up to the 70s now. Then Lord Steven Regal appears, challenges Big Scott Hall for Spring Stampede for the WCW television title. We get a 6-man. Liger was off his game. He still puts on an 84. Excellent match. Again, Ultimo Dragon pinned Eddie Guerrero with the Asahi DDT. I kind of put Eddie in El Dandy's spot today to see how we do, and he put in a 71. These guys are putting in insane performances. Everything's just gone through the roof all of a sudden. Then we get a contract signing between... Where's contract signing written? I put in contract signing as the title. Is it there? Is it there? Is it there? No. So this is a contract signing. And basically the contract stipulates that if the Steiners lose to Steve Williams and Terry Gordy at the pay-per-view, they cannot challenge for the tag team titles so long as the Miracle Violence Connection are the tag team champions. So this is Steiner's last shot to try and end the title reign and the winning streak of Williams and Gordy. Getting Nikita Koloff and Ron Simmons beating the Young Pistols. This is a warm-up match for them, challenging for the US tag titles at the pay-per-view. And we get Terry Funk. So Jake Roberts is coming out to cut a promo. Terry Funk appears through the crowd and absolutely lays out Jake the Snake Roberts. They're brawling through the crowd into the back. People trying to separate him. All that good stuff. Terry Funk has returned from what looked like a life-threatening injury 2 weeks ago. Life-threatening, not career-threatening. Life-threatening. It looks like his retirement is on hold for now. He wants Jake Roberts. And I'm the booker, so I'm going to book that for Spring Stampede. And main event tonight, Luger and the Dangerous Alliance take on Sting, Steamboat and Rhodes. Sting submitted Lex Luger with a Scorpion Deathlock. Can you believe it? Sting has submitted Lex Luger. Overall show 82, very, very good. Not quite as good as last week's, but excellent all the same. Financial report, yeah, I made a nice stack of cash. See the popularity, have we increased in the Great Lakes? No, despite running there. We have increased in the Midwest, we have increased in the Tri-State. So that's good. Next thing, we're at Spring Stampede. I'm going to have to go into Turner Broadcasting offices and see if, and they won't allow me to come in till the day of the pay-per-view. I'm going to have to go into Turner Broadcasting offices and I'll have to have a chat with Ted, billionaire Ted. I'm going to ask Ted, my main event tonight, advertised, is an exploding barbed wire death match between none other than Big Van Vader and Cactus Jack. We're talking about a match that has potential to be an all-timer on North American style. This is rarely, if ever, done. Let us show this live and exclusive on Turner Premier Pay-Per-View. Please, Ted. Please, Ted. It is time for Spring Stampede. Turner turned me down. No explosions, he said. So Eric Bischoff's going to make an announcement during the show to rebook the match. I'm gutted. It's supposed to be an exploding barbed wire death match, but it's not. Anyway, into the pre-show. Liger beats Tracy Smothers. Barry Windham, herniated spinal disc. Ah, shit. beats Paul Levesque. That doesn't sound good, does it? Eddie Guerrero picks up this victory in the 10-man here, featuring a lot of people. Jumpin' Joey Maggs, Dean Malenko, DDP, Sean Waltman, Van Hammer, against Beautiful Bobby, Eddie Guerrero, Jerry Lynn, Larry Zbyszko, Tully Blanchard. Arn is still out injured, so Jerry got in by way of Arn's injury. He's not out injured, technically he can wrestle, but he has a cracked tailbone. I'm giving the guy a month off. He's done his time in the biz. He don't need to work through a cracked tailbone. What was Eddie's performance? He's been on a bit of a roll recently. 70, good. And then we get El Dandy, the man, my guy, beats the Z-Man, just trying to build his popularity. Into the main show, Lord Steven Regal has beaten Big Scott Hall by submission with the Regal stretch to win the WCW World Television title in what I would imagine is our best opener of the save so far. Brian Pillman beats Ultimo Dragon to make defense at number 2 in another excellent match. Ultimo Dragon with a 67, Pillman with a 75, despite being a little bit off his game. Excellent match though. What's happened here? No, this is a glitch. This is a massive glitch. I 100% booked that as a 2v2. What? I'm going to go back. Well, I didn't record that part where I booked the match. How did that happen? Anyway, who even won this match? Ron Simmons pinned Vinny Vegas. I booked it so Ron Simmons would pin Jimmy Garvin. Yeah, decent match. A few extra guys got on the pay-per-view. We'll do the tag match for the US tag titles on TV. This is 100% a glitch. Anyway, it don't fucking matter. It was not a match anyway. Eric Bischoff cuts a promo. He announces that the exploding barbed wire death match will now be a cage of death match. A barbed wire cage match between Vader and Cactus Jack. Locked in a cage, covered in barbed wire. These two are going to kill each other. Jake Roberts beats Terry Funk in another very good match with a DDT. Jake's first match in the company. He puts in an okay performance, but he hasn't built up any momentum yet. His gimmick isn't fully over yet. Terry Funk, at his age, still putting in 73 performances is astounding. Rick Rude makes defense number 7 of his United States title, beating Dustin Rhodes again at back-to-back pay-per-views. Excellent match. Rick Rude with a performance of 92. I just couldn't take the title off him. I wanted to book Dustin to win. I love Dustin Rhodes. I wanted him to win. But Rick Rude is just on a run at the minute, and I've got plans for the guy. Ricky Steamboat versus Lex Luger. Lex beats Ricky Steamboat in the best match, without doubt, that we've had here. Ricky Steamboat with a 95. Why am I not pushing him? Why am I putting Lex over him? Lex with a 66, match with a 91. It's essentially a 5-star match. Essentially. Not quite, but essentially. And then after the match, Lex Luger shakes Ricky Steamboat's hand. Can you believe that? What's going on here? We get the Steiner Brothers versus the Miracle Violence Connection, and the Miracle Violence Connection win again when Terry Gordy pins Scott Steiner with a powerbomb. Defense number 2 of their tag team titles. And you know what that means? That means the Steiner Brothers cannot challenge the Miracle Violence Connection again, so long as Miracle Violence Connection are holding the tag team titles. So that's the Steiner Brothers out of the tag title picture for the foreseeable future. Remember, these guys are essentially undefeated for years. This title reign might never end. And you know what? I'm good at it. The match suffered because there was not enough selling. It's the Steiner Brothers versus the Miracle Violence Connection. There was never supposed to be selling. But yeah, really good match. Scott Steiner's looking very stale. We're going to have to change something up with Scotty. And then, look, Steve Austin beats Sting with a stun gun following interference from Paulie Dangerously. Austin has beaten the franchise, the face of the company, the man, the icon, Sting, in a huge victory. Yeah, he got help from his manager. That's what managers are there for. Sting grabs the mic after the match, signals out Paulie dangerously. He said he wants the Dangerous Alliance, submit or surrender. Sting wants War Games. Now it's time for our main event. Big Van Vader versus Cactus Jack. This didn't really work out, did it? This match went a little too long. Oh my god, they put in performances in the 90s. And the match only got a 72. Vader sustained a torn meniscus. He's our world champion. Big Van Vader defeats Cactus Jack in a barbed wire cage match in 18 minutes. If I left this at 15 minutes, this match was going to get a 95. It would have been our best match in company history. Defense number 2 for Vader for the World Heavyweight title. I'm a little bit disappointed. We have 23,500 people here in the Greensboro Coliseum, the spiritual home of WCW. The match, by all accounts, should have been excellent, except it just fell down based on the match going too long. It's crazy that it got pulled down from a 94 to a 72 just because we went 3 minutes over what the suggested time for a match with the hardcore aim is. I wanted it to be hardcore. Did I book it to be hardcore? Yeah. The match aims to have a hardcore classic, but it went too long because the game says a hardcore match shouldn't technically go longer than 15 minutes before the crowd loses its appeal. We'd have crowded very hot. Yeah, the crowd rating 67 isn't great, but the wrestling was a 94. I feel like as the booker, I let them down. If I'd said to them 15 minutes instead of 18, we'd be talking about a 5-star classic. And after the match, Terry Funk comes in. He comes out. Mankind is covered in blood. Terry's battered and beaten from Jake Roberts earlier in the night, and he helps Cactus Jack to the back of the arena. It's just a lovely moment to go off air. Cactus Jack, his first chance at the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, he's fallen short. His old foe and his old friend Terry Funk is there to pick him up. He raises his hand, all that stuff, raises his hand to the audience, helps him to the back. 80 overall, could have been a phenomenal show. We had a 91, we had an 86. Just tons of great matches up and down the card. The main event rating is heavily weighted into the overall rating. I think if that match had achieved mid-90s, which it could have done based on the wrestling, we'd be looking at an overall rating in the 90s, which would possibly win a show of the year at the end of your awards. I'm going to address the locker room anyway. Big Van Vader deserves credit for his performance in that match. Cactus Jack most certainly deserves credit for his performance in that match. And who else do we want to praise? Steamboat put in a fucking phenomenal performance. Praise. I'm going to give Steamboat a hug. Go on there, Ricky. You deserve it. Vader's pleased. Jack is pleased. Steamboat is pleased. Vader's torn meniscus will only be able to work angles for 1 year. And Barry Windham is also out for 1 year. Our World Heavyweight Champion is injured for a year. We've got War Games coming up next month. So that fucks with the timing of running a tournament. Oh my god. What am I going to do? God. I'm devastated. I am devastated. Okay, yeah, Barry, right. Okay, Barry. I'm devastated for you, but I'm devastated for Vader. This is supposed to be Vader's iconic North American title run. My plan is scuppered. He was going to hold the title till Starrcade in December. He was going to run from February to December, 10 months. This was going to be the reign that Vader was, that he never really had in North America. Yeah, he had some good reigns in WCW. Never that tent pole, top heel, dominating the roster for a year. And we were off to such a great start. He had a good match with Steamboat. He had a good match with Cactus Jack. One that could have been great. Torn meniscus. We made 2.9 million. It doesn't. The 2.9 million doesn't heal my pain. Yeah, we gained some popularity. Doesn't heal my pain. Big Van Vader. Yeah, Paul Levesque. Play that one by ear. Oh, God. I don't even want to answer these questions. What are my thoughts? Personally, I can't stand them. Fuck you, Vince. I don't care. I'm hurt. I'm hurt. I'm hurt. My world champion has torn his meniscus. He's out for 12 months. He's my world champion. Why couldn't Scott Hall tear his meniscus? Why did it have to be Vader? Why couldn't Paul Levesque tear his meniscus? Why did it have to be Vader? Injury sidelines, Big Van Vader. Yeah, everywhere I look, it reminds me of him. Relationship change. Going from none to strong, just like, fuck you, Vince. Let's see if we can. I'm hurting, in case you haven't noticed. Spring Stampede, yeah, it's great, made loads of money. Oh, we made loads of money. We made so much money. But Vader's injured. Right, let's go to absences here. It's low risk to perform a surgery. We're going to do it. Complete success. He's back in 9 months, January. He's out for a year. So it's a year. May as well be a fucking year. Let's see if we can operate on Barry Windham's herniated disc. It's a medium risk. Let's see. Oh, complications arose and has been deemed a failure. Will now face a longer recovery. And surgeons have warned that some additional damage may become apparent in the future. The guy's crocked. He's out for over a year. Sorry, Barry. This is it. We're going to have to vacate the World Heavyweight Championship. Sorry, Vader. It's vacant. Okay, everybody. Like, subscribe, send well wishes to Vader. Pray for Vader. Like, subscribe, comment. See y'all next week, when hopefully we'll come up with a plan for our World Heavyweight title.